Hello, ghosties. I'm Chance Lee,
And I'm Amanda McAvoy.
and this is That's So Gothic, a movie podcast about girls, guys, and haunted houses. Put on your pink and your pearls, because we're going to take you on a tour of the House of Yes.
Marty Pascal is bringing his new fiancée home for the holidays.
I hear his car. Marty!
Jackie!
There's only one problem. He hasn't told his twin sister.
Leslie and I are engaged.
Did you give your sister her medication?
Her name is Jackie.
Did Marty tell you about me? How you were? How's that?
She lives in a white house,
When they came out of the room, Jackie's hand was holding Marty's.
and she's got her own ideas about family values.
It's the wildest place you've ever made love.
I can't talk like that about your brother.
Pretend he's not my brother, I do. Marty, you're home.
Now, she's about to put her house in order.
She doesn't seem like Marty's type.
They're getting married, Jackie.
The phone's dead. Don't look at me.
Are you spying on us?
Mother doesn't spy. A mother pays attention.
The New York Times calls House of Yes a screwball comedy.
Oh my.
And Parker Posey is laugh out loud funny, says the New York Post.
One more time, Marty. For old time's sake.
I'm going to go baste the turkey and hide the kitchen knives.
Parker Posey. The House of Yes.
Terrible. Bad accent should be like my running gag at this point. They're always bad.
Truly.
So, released in 1997, House of Yes was directed by Mark Waters. He adapted the screenplay from a stage play by Wendy MacLeod. The movie stars Parker Posey as Jackie O, a spoiled rich girl who dresses like Jackie Onassis. Josh Hamilton as her twin brother Marty. Tori Spelling as Marty's fiancée, Leslie. Freddie Prinze Jr. as their non-twin brother, Anthony. Genevieve Bujold as their mother. And Rachel Lee Cook as young Jackie in home movies.
Yes.
And that's literally the entire cast.
Yeah. Very small.
And this is the story of incestuous twins and their rich as fuck family on Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So this movie was a box office bomb. It made $600,000 against a $1.5 million budget.
Yikes.
Critically mixed. It has a 62% critical tomato, but audiences seem to have reclaimed it recently. It's got a 76% audience tomato. So at the time, Ebert gave it thumbs down on his show, along with Siskel, got 2 thumbs down, but he gave it 2.5 stars in his written review.
Oh, interesting.
He says that the arc of the movie is not hard to predict. The dialogue is smart and terse. And he says Posey plays her part as smart, dark, and fresh out of an institution. He says, when the film was over, I was not particularly pleased that I had seen it, but I was not bored.
That's a interesting take. I feel like even he was torn on the movie.
Yeah. And like while watching it.
Right.
And there's like a cabaret burlesque club now in Brooklyn called House of Yes.
Really?
So searching for House of Yes reviews, I was like, these are really weird reviews of the movie. It turns out they're of this club, but one of them I really think could be for both. It's for the club, but I think it also applies to the movie.
Yeah.
Utter inclusivity. And that means serving body, serving gender, serving face, and serving love. I literally thought that was for the movie at first, and I was like, all right, go off, queen, I love it.
But no, that's just a review for Parker Posey.
Yes. Yeah, just her entire career.
Yeah.
So the film, according to Wikipedia, the film was reportedly financed by Aaron Spelling, and it premiered at the 1997 Sundance Film Festival, where Miramax paid $2 million to acquire the distribution rights to the film.
Wow.
So that's even more money that it did not make. But it was only given. It probably only was released limitedly. It was given a limited theatrical release. I lived in the South, so a movie like this was never going to play within like a 10-hour radius of me.
Right. Yeah,
But
I definitely had never heard of it.
Well, one of the positive reviews was in Entertainment Weekly, and I subscribed to that magazine as a teenager, and that's where I got a lot of my pop culture knowledge.
Yeah.
And something about it, I just wanted to see it so bad from reading the review. It seemed so edgy and, off the norm, subversive. And that's the type of stuff I really needed as a teenager in the South.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't see it until maybe like 2011 or 2012.
Oh, really?
This was one of the first movies I watched on Netflix streaming.
Oh, wow. Fun. Yeah, pro tip, if anyone wants to watch this, it is available on Hoopla, which you can get for free with your library card. So that's how I watched it for the first time for this.
I was glad you had told me that, because Hoopla for some reason didn't show up on like Google or Just Watch or any of those.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like you told me it was somewhere, and I didn't want to pay $3 for it. Yeah, because it's long gone from Netflix.
Yes, yeah. Hoopla has some really good like 90s and early 2000s like deep cuts.
Pretty sure I watched Party Girl on Hoopla.
Yeah, I think I did too. Yeah.
Another Posey classic.
Mm-hmm. It just has all Parker Posey movies. The P in Hoopla stands for Parker Posey.
For Parker Posey. She's got a stake in Hoopla. She's one of the... That'd be really funny if she ended up being one of the owners of Hoopla.
Yeah, well, I think technically Overdrive owns it, but I could see Parker Posey being just like... She always, I feel like, ends up in a cute little, suit set. I could see her being like a real boss bitch.
And she went from being a party girl to being a librarian in Party Girl. So maybe she just really has leaned into that.
Yeah, that was a documentary, I believe.
I really just want the reverse trajectory to happen to me. Like, I am a librarian, but I want to be a party girl. So I want to live that movie in reverse. That's all I want. I'll be 60, but wearing like kimonos and drinking, drinking my Manhattans and just partying in a loft somewhere.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I
have no electricity because I'll be homeless, but
yeah, that's fine.
But I'll be living fabulously.
Yeah, I think that if you become a librarian, your life has to go either from that direction or to that direction. There's no question.
It really should. There is no justice in the world if it doesn't end up that way. But as we said, this was a stage play.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1995, Allison Janney played the mom in the off-Broadway run of the play.
I can totally see that. That sounds like it would be a lot of fun. Yeah.
That'd be really fun. She was the only cast member I recognized. It started in San Francisco and then had an off-Broadway run, but I didn't recognize any of the other actors. And I don't know this playwright either, but she said that House of Yes is about people who have never been said no to.
Oh, I didn't put that together.
Yeah, and so she said she wanted to depict the insularity of the upper classes, people who've cut themselves off from the rest of the world and are living by their own rules. And she saw a graffiti in a bathroom that said, "We are living in a house of yes." And that's where she got the title from.
Interesting. I love that.
Yeah. So the play also received mixed reviews at the time. And someone did one thing. I thought one of the theater critics for the LA Times described it as, quote, "a very San Francisco play," characterized by a healthy non-commerciality that may have a hard time surviving in the hothouse Hollywood jungle.
I mean, they were right.
They were right, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we've got, as we said, like everybody in this movie is somebody on some spectrum. The director did Mean Girls.
Oh, that is really interesting. I can see a lot of that, like very like quippy conversation. So interesting.
There were a few other movies of his that I've recognized but never wanted to see. There was only these two. This was his first film.
Oh, okay.
And Parker Posey, love her.
So good.
I love that. I had seen this before and completely forgot Rachel Lee Cook was in it.
Yeah, she was a pleasant surprise. A little Josie and the Pussycats reunion? Or no, it would be a
This
precursor
was
to it, right?
before, yeah.
Yeah.
She's so cute.
She's
too.
adorable. Yeah, she looks so adorable in this. I want to go back now and watch Josie and the Pussycats and think of Josie as being a younger version of Parker Posey's character. Right?
Fiona.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Fiona. That's right.
Oh my gosh, that would yeah, I want to do that too. I love
Yeah.
that like obviously they have no scenes together in this movie because they're playing the same character.
Yeah.
So it's nice that they got to
Right?
act opposite one another later.
Right. Yeah. And I just adore them both. They're so good.
Yeah. We also have Tori Spelling.
Mhm.
And frankly, I think Tori Spelling is one of the best parts of this movie.
She's really great. She's very she's the heart of the movie. She's so cute. She does a really good job of playing this sort of like ditzy blonde, but like you're rooting for her so much. And she's not really like all that ditzy. She definitely has some like wits and smarts about her that I'm sure we'll talk about, but oh, she's so cute in it.
She's cute. She looks great.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's just fantastic. And I think just the way Tori Spelling has been treated by our society is a crime.
Yeah.
Just from the beginning, like people hated her because she was Aaron Spelling's daughter.
Right.
And that was people thought that's the only reason she was on 90210. Maybe true. You know, she's one of the OG Nepo babies. That's fine.
Yeah, right.
Not her fault.
Yeah. Didn't she I never watched 90210, but didn't she play kind of like the main villain in it or something too? Or like the bad girl?
I'm not sure. I think I never watched it at all. My impression was that people liked her because I know Shannon Doherty was the bitch on the show.
Maybe that was it. I just remember because they did a reboot recently with it, and I think that she was on it, and I thought people were upset about it because of the character, but maybe I'm wrong. I did not watch it either, so I have no idea.
It was a little old for me. My older cousin watched it, and that teen drama was not something that I was invested in.
Yeah.
But I did look it up. She was one of the 3 maybe original cast members that was on for 10 years, the entire 10-year run of the show. She was still on 90210 when she did this movie.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Me neither. 90210 went off the air in 2000.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I had no idea it was on that long. But yeah, she's so good in this. And I read online that the Razzie Awards, which are bullshit, nominated her for Worst Actress.
No, incorrect.
No, she's so good. It's like you're just doing that because it's like, oh, Tori Spelling's in a movie.
Right. Yeah. God, no. She does. I think I don't know what the character the intention was, but I think that whatever it was, she did a really good job portraying it. I think she's lovely.
Yeah, she's fantastic in this. Parker Posey did get a Sundance Award, so that's great.
Wow.
But Tori should have gotten something too.
Absolutely.
And we have Freddie Prinze Jr.
I adore.
Just I've seen him in Scooby-Doo, and is he in I Know What You Did Last Summer?
I think so, yeah. I always get him in who's the one? David Arquette. I always get them mixed up.
Okay. Yep.
But I love Freddie Prinze Jr. I love him in Scooby-Doo. And I love him in this. He's just he is probably the funniest part of this movie to me. I just adore some of his lines. He's so funny, and he delivers them really well. He's got some really good comedic chops.
He's someone else who I wouldn't describe as a powerhouse of an actor, but he's very good in this.
Yes, yeah. He cannot do everything, but he can do this. He can do this.
He can do this. And he can do this, and he can look cute. He's a very handsome man.
He is. And he's so doe-eyed in this. I feel like they made his eyes get really big.
Well, they're all so young. Tori Spelling's literally 25, I think. when
Oh
she's
my
filming
God.
this.
Yeah.
Because her character, she says she's 23, and I'm like, how old is Tori Spelling? 30? You know, when she did this or whatever. I'm like, oh no, she's
Right.
she's 25. Like she almost
Yeah.
is that age from the character.
Yeah.
And then the mom is played by Genevieve Bujold, who's someone I'm not very familiar with. She is in the Cronenberg Dead Ringers,
Oh, okay.
which I keep bringing up because Rachel Weisz is in the new show.
You're just looking for reasons.
It all comes back to Rachel Weisz.
Yeah.
She's also in this god awful movie called Northern Kingdom, Northeast Kingdom, that I saw with this very cute, very dumb boy on a date like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because he messaged me and he said, so I lived in a small town in New Hampshire that had a movie theater, and he said Wes Craven is going to be at the theater to talk about his new movie. And I said, wow, all right, let's go. And we made this date. And then a couple of days later, I'm like, isn't Wes Craven dead? And it it was a totally different person, a totally different director, whose last name was Craven. And I was like, the guy was so cute.
Yeah.
So I was like, we'll still go to this movie and I can just like tease him for this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so bad. And the director was so like full of shit. Like he was Jay Craven.
Jay Craven. Oh God.
And the movie had Genevieve Bujold and Laura Dern's dad, Bruce.
Oh. So not Laura Dern, but
I don't know how he got these people. Yeah. And Bruce Dern had just won an Oscar or been nominated for an Oscar for Nebraska. Okay. And this guy, he had a little chat after the movie, and he talked about how, you know, Bruce Dern learned so much from working on this movie. That's why he got the Oscar nomination for Nebraska. And I was like, sir, there's a scene in this movie where like someone has a lit stick of dynamite and like runs off screen and it explodes and they come back with like ash on their face like a Looney Tune cartoon.
Oh, how Wile E. Coyote of them.
It was so bad. So it's actually called Northern Borders.
Ooh, can't say I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, it's about Vermont.
Yeah.
All of his movies are about Vermont.
Yeah.
Could not be less interested. But anyway, that's my experience with her.
Great. I have none.
Yeah. And that's it. So let's get into our plot summary for this movie. We begin with a voiceover. We see the young Jackie O, played by Rachel Lee Cook. She's in pink, but we're getting the Parker Posey voiceover where she's talking about this costume party they went to. She dressed as Jackie O, but with blood on her dress and macaroni kind of glued on it like brains.
Yeah.
And it was more tasteful than it sounds. And everyone remembers what they were doing that day. Very similar to the Kennedy assassination. I have to admit, about the time I was JFK Jr., but slutty for Halloween that time.
It's my favorite costume ever.
No one got it. I just wore a little blue pea coat and nothing else. And people would say, "Who are you?" And I would do the little salute and I'd say, "I'm JFK Jr." And I would tell people, they're like, "What are you being for Halloween?" I said, "I'm going to be JFK Jr., but sexy." And then people would say, "But he was sexy." And I'd say, "I know, but I'm going to be him when he was 6. Like, so.
Oh my God. I'm so happy you brought that up.
And then, I forbade anybody to take pictures of me. I'm like, Massachusetts people will murder me for doing this, even though like Ted Kennedy could literally murder people and they're fine with it.
It's totally fine. Totally fine.
Anyway, I grew up in a time where like, you know, the Kennedys I grew up in the South, like detached from this. Like I understand it was a national tragedy, but like seeing them as a royal family was never like part of my life growing up.
Which is so funny because I have the exact opposite like experience because I grew up in Massachusetts, middle class family. And I would say both sides of my family, now it's a little bit different, but both sides of my family were very like, what's the word? Like neutral. What's the word I'm thinking of? Not conservative, not super liberal.
Independent?
Yeah, kind of. So
There's a
like,
word for it.
yes.
Moderate, politically moderate.
Moderate. Yes, very moderate, very middle class. Like I just like if I think back on my family, I just see like shades of like blue, like navy blue, like nautical, even though we don't live on the ocean. So, like I have memorabilia in my house of JFK. Like there's things in the living room hanging up. I have a picture of JFK on a boat with a little like medallion next to it. Both of my parents were born in the 60s, so like they didn't really, grow up with it, but it was like from their parents, from their very early years, they kind of remember it. Yeah, big JFK, what's it called? Camelot. Oh,
Camelot,
Camelot's
yeah.
a big deal. Actually, when Ted Kennedy died, that was one of the only times I saw my dad lose it because so Ted Kennedy, what was the nickname he used to go by?
Was he a lion or something?
Something, but all I remember is I said something about how like my brother said, "Oh, Ted Kennedy died," and I said, "Well, thank God it wasn't blank, like his nickname." And my brother started bragging on me, talking about how it was Ted Kennedy, blah blah blah. My father, who is apple of my eye, calmest, coolest, collected guy of all time, took a glass dinner bowl that we had filled with corn and smashed it on the floor. It was
over Ted Kennedy.
He says now that it was more about my brother's attitude, but I think it was a strain on the family.
Wow.
Yes, big deal. Like, so I love this movie so much.
Yeah, that still boggles my mind because when I moved to Massachusetts in 2004,
Yeah.
and I realized everyone just like worshipped the ground Ted Kennedy walked on.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, isn't he Chappaquiddick? Isn't he
Yep.
like a murderer? Like that's all I knew about him.
Yep.
And like it was such a different environment that I had to get used to when I moved up here.
Yeah, when that movie Chappaquiddick came out, I remember I was working in a library. It was my first library job. And I had so many people coming in asking for books on Chappaquiddick. I had so many people talking about it. Like it was constant. Like,
wow,
people are obsessed with that story. I remember when Taylor Swift started dating a Kennedy, it was like all over the news in Massachusetts.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we love our Kennedys. I mean, I won't go as far to say that I do, but I love the idea of the Kennedys.
They were our royal family.
They were.
Mm-hmm. So this movie, again, 1997, and it takes place in 1983, which is 20 years after JFK's assassination. The one time I appreciate them doing the math for me, like they put that on the screen.
Yes. I never would have figured it out.
Never would have figured that out. So I did appreciate that. It's Thanksgiving, and there's a hurricane coming. There's a hurricane. There's a big storm a coming. All right.
Yes.
So they're taping up the windows and getting ready for Thanksgiving. So we're introduced to Jackie, played by Parker Posey, and Anthony, who is Freddie Prinze Jr. And they're talking about how Marty is bringing a friend for Thanksgiving. And Jackie is immediately, all weird about it. And this movie, I don't know how to the script of the play it is, because I've never seen the play. I couldn't find the script, but it feels very theatrical in the way it's written, because especially in the way characters will just have these random asides, that's very much like a stage play to me.
Yeah.
And three people will bring up that the tape is going to leave goo on the windows. And Jackie says, goo is what makes it tape instead of paper.
I love that line.
That was a good line. So Marty, who's the twin brother, I actually didn't mention who plays him because I forgot. And this guy has credits
really
miles long.
Stop it.
Could not. I could bump into him on the street, would not know who this man is.
Literally, I
Yeah,
have no idea. That's so funny.
yeah.
Does he
But
still
yeah,
act? Do you know?
oh yeah, he's still
Oh my
going. He's in film or
God.
TV all the time. He like has not ever stopped acting. And
Wow.
I just don't know who this man is.
Yeah.
But he comes in with his friend Leslie, played by Tori Spelling,
Leslie.
and reveals that they're engaged. And Parker
Mhm.
Posey does this fantastic scream that she turns into a laugh.
Yes. She's really good at like being, happily psychotic.
This is a perfect role for her.
Hmm.
And the mom is looking at them. She's got her 3 kids, and she says, "I look at you people, and I wonder, how did you ever fit in my womb?" That was another good line. She's so not a mom. She's just, this
No.
rich woman, and kids have just kind of happened to her.
Yes, that's very
And
true.
they talk a bit like they don't even know if Anthony has the same dad because she always had a
Mhm.
bunch of suitors. So mom takes Leslie into the kitchen to get to know her, and she decides to share that when they were born as twins, Jackie's hand was holding Marty's penis when they were born.
Penis. Yep.
And so and there's lots and lots of family drama with this. And they get mad, the mom gets mad at Marty, saying, "Your sister's been out of the hospital for less than 6 months, and you bring home an anti-Jackie."
Hmm.
And so we know there's a lot going on, kind of simmering under the surface. There's a good scene where there's not a lot. I feel like this movie is almost just like the play. Like
Yeah.
there's not a lot of cinema to it.
Right. Yeah.
But there is a good scene where Parker Posey has brushed her hair in front of her face, like kind of like Cousin It, and she's humming this
Yeah.
weird song, and like that you couldn't really do well on stage. So I did
Yeah.
appreciate that. So, and again, most of the movie is just like dialogue. There's
Mhm.
not a lot of action or scenes. So I'll just kind of go through some of the scenes a bit. It's hard to do a plot summary of a movie that's so just
Yeah.
dialogue heavy. Again, another
It
reason
really
why
is.
it's all play.
Yeah.
But we learned that they have this problem with the toilet that hasn't worked right since Jackie flushed Marty's lizard when they were kids.
Yeah.
She did it on purpose.
Poor lizard.
We learned that they've never, ever had a guest before.
Yeah.
Anthony, it's very awkward with Leslie. He's always asking her, "Do you have sheets? Do you have towels?"
Yeah. Like her whole bed is made, but he still asks if she has sheets, so she has to like pull back the
Like pulls back the comforter. Yep, they're there.
Don't worry. Yep.
And like you said, we do really feel for her. She's our point of entry into
Yeah.
this. That's another thing I feel like that's very common with plays is you get a bunch of weirdos and you have one like relatable character.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's the quote unquote normal one.
Mm-hmm.
And so Marty wants to stay somewhere else and not have to deal with this on Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And Leslie starts thinking it's because of her. You can see she's very nervous. She's from a lower class. She works at a donut shop and they're very rich. So she's feeling very insecure about this whole thing. And Jackie enters Leslie's room while she's getting dressed for dinner. And I didn't write down the context of this, but she says, "I spend most of the day with my head in the toilet bowl throwing up pills." And I like this exchange. She says, "Most doctors are men and they think we're all premenstrual." And Leslie says, "Well, we are, unless we're actually having it." I thought that was kind of funny.
She's like this like voice of reason. Like anyone
Yes.
else would like be like, "Oh yeah, okay," but she's like, "No, that is what's happening."
Yeah. There's this, I don't know if I wrote it down, so I'll go ahead and mention it, but there's a part later on where Jackie says something, "Oh, I'm just crazy," or whatever. And Leslie says, "You're just spoiled."
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
she's the voice of reason throughout
She
this.
is.
And so they have this really awkward conversation where Jackie's trying to learn more about their sex life.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "Where's the wildest place you've ever done it?" "Just pretend he's not my brother." "I do." Like, Leslie does not want to share this at all.
Yeah.
And Jackie's also doing this thing where she's talking about, oh, he's had one other girlfriend. He couldn't marry her. There were some family issues.
Right.
It's a
She like
family
describes her
thing.
as like a woman, not a girl. She's very mature.
Yes.
Yeah.
She does feel a lot like her Josie and the Pussycats character.
She does.
She really does.
Well, like earlier when you said the thing about when she screams and then, you know, that goes into a laugh, it reminds me of the scene in Josie and the Pussycats where she's doing the That's one of my favorite scenes.
With her hands.
With her hands.
Yes.
She's amazing at that type of role specifically.
Yes, she's so good.
Yeah.
She was most recently in Beau is Afraid, which
is she?
a terrible movie for me.
Yeah.
I hated this movie. And by the time she showed up, I could not care less. She shows up literally in the third hour of this movie. It's a 3-hour movie.
I haven't watched it.
It's like 2.5 hours in and Parker Posey shows up.
Oh, that's so disappointing.
Not even that much.
Ugh.
And her entire character is a gag. And I just didn't find it funny.
Yeah. Well, that's really disappointing.
Yeah. But anyway, back to this. There is a piano in this movie that we get a lot of piano time.
Yes.
Marty and Jackie can play the piano very well. And Anthony talks to Leslie a bit more about Jackie. No, he's talking to Marty about Jackie and what she does around the house. And he says that she likes to read assassination books and watch soap operas. And this was a really funny line that, again, very play to me, and that like it does nothing for character development. It's just there because it can be. But he says she likes when characters are replaced and no one notices.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I like that too. It feels like the thing where like, you know, you go out to the theater and then you're having dinner after and like, remember when they said this?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I don't know. I have a negative view of plays and play people, but that's a topic for another time. So we learn a bit that like Marty has this scar that Jackie somehow gave him. And she says she wants to see it. She says, I didn't mean to maim you. I meant to kill you.
Yeah. I love that.
And and they're having wine. They're having this wine called Liebfraumilch or something that means mother's milk. It's a real wine. I looked it up.
Yeah. That's a really fun scene too, where they're talking about it. That feels very play-like, where it's all four of them are just standing like basically in a circle and they're kind of talking, bouncing off of each other, because Jackie says something about how she speaks French, and then oh my goodness, I can't remember her name. Leslie says, oh no, like Marty says something like, oh, he what's the word, translates it. Leslie goes, I didn't know that you spoke French. He says, I don't, I speak German. It's German. Like, it's a very like fun little scene, I think. Like, I don't know, I really enjoyed it.
It's good. I like this one too. It's good dialogue. They're being very mean to Leslie, or at least Jackie is, kind of snidely making fun of her because she doesn't know that Liebfraumilch is German and not French.
Right.
So that one is good because the dialogue's good and it's showing a lot about these relationships here. And then lightning strikes and the power goes out.
Yikes.
And Leslie and Martin play chopsticks on the piano. And Tori Spelling playing chopsticks on the piano is one of my favorite things in this movie.
She like uses both hands and she kind of like, it's almost like flippers. Like she's just
like... Yes. And she's so sweet and earnest about it.
Yeah. And it's terrible. It's just awful.
I know.
It's so bad.
And Martin does join her, which is very sweet. And then Jackie's like, my turn. And she slides in and starts playing this like rhapsody on the piano. And the captions, I was watching with the captions on because I couldn't play Hoopla on my TV. So I had to watch it on my tablet, and I'm trying to like listen to everything. And it just says she plays a lively tune. And so I asked my phone, I was asking my phone, like, what song is this? And trying to play because I have no knowledge of classical music. Couldn't identify it. So who knows what it is?
She made it up on the fly.
It kind of sounded like video game, like boss music to me.
It does.
So Leslie ends up going to bed, but Marty decides to stay with Jackie at the Panano.
Mhm.
And they talk about this actor who Jackie has been seeing.
Mhm.
And meanwhile, Anthony is asking Leslie again about clean towels and a washcloth. We kind of bump back and forth between these
Mhm.
two scenes for a bit. And Jackie wants to tell Leslie that it's finally revealed that Jackie has slept with Marty.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
like
so hard to
full
keep
on.
everything in order with this. Yes, they've had
Yeah.
sex. He'll later act like it's masturbation because they're twins and virtually identical, which is an interesting viewpoint.
Yeah. It's a
But
way
she
to
says
rationalize it.
she wants to tell Leslie because she's from Pennsylvania. She'll understand. Entire towns are related.
Yeah. And he says, like, that's cousins, not siblings. Like that makes it better or worse.
Yes. And I don't know if it was here or later where she talks about Pennsylvania and she goes, I don't know anybody from Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is just a state that's in the way when you need to get somewhere else.
Not wrong.
Because they're in Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
I don't at first when they were talking about Washington, I'm like, Washington State, Washington, D.C. It
Yeah.
took me a while to realize where they were.
Yeah.
But they Anthony goes to he's checking on Leslie. He asks how they met. She says they met at this party.
Mhm.
And he says, was it love at first sight? And she goes, I thought he was gay. Everyone is. At least all men in New York are. And so he tells her that he has a brain tumor and he's going to die a virgin. And he thinks that she should sleep with him. And she says, I don't know. Doing with two brothers, it's like incest. And he's like, well, about incest.
Yeah. Funny you mention it.
Meanwhile, Jackie and Marty are like double fisting Pepsi and rum.
Yeah. It's very fun. They're having a good time.
They're having a good time, getting drunk, talking
Mhm.
about how he met Leslie at the donut. She works at the Donut King.
Mhm.
And Jackie says, does that make her the queen?
And I
know why
think
that
he
cracked
says
me up.
something like, no, like a princess or something. Like, again,
Yes.
not really defending her. Like,
Right.
his rationalization in this movie is really quite incredible, honestly.
Yeah. He has
I
to
love
jump
the
through some big
leaps.
hoops.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he says that he loves Leslie and he
Mhm.
just wants to be a human being. They talk about this a bit about like they're almost like robots because they're so
Mm.
rich and so detached from reality, and he wants to just like live a normal life.
Mhm.
And she says at one point that love is for tiny people with tiny lives. And so Jackie ends up changing into this pink suit that Jackie wore, and she has
Yeah.
this gun with blanks.
Mhm.
And they talk about what they were doing when Kennedy was shot, which was the day their dad left. And
Yeah.
there ends up being this ambiguity whether or not at the end of the movie that we'll get to, whether or not their dad also died on that day or just
Yeah.
left them.
Right. I mean, as someone who has experienced family strife caused by the death of a Kennedy, I can understand if he left. But yeah, there is some ambiguity. It's kind of implied he died in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she ends up, so she asks him, she goes, you be him and I'll be her.
Mhm.
And he sits on the couch and pretends to wave like
I love it.
JFK.
Yeah. The very,
screwing in a light bulb.
Yeah.
Yes. Like Princess Miss USA wave.
Yes. Very pretty.
And she shoots him with this gun that has blanks in it. And then that just turns them on so much they start doing it.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, Leslie comes in and she sees them. And so she goes back upstairs and gets with Anthony to cope. And it seems like the mom then just watches Anthony and Leslie do it. She's
just
like
kind of
watching
in
at the door.
Yeah, doorway. Very creepy.
Yeah. And I don't know where she's supposed to be for most of this time. She just kind of pops up occasionally.
Yeah, again, like I think that's where the theater really, plays a factor in this, because I think she says something when the power goes out, like, I'm going to bed. Like she's just done with it and storms,
Right.
off stage.
Exit stage left. Yeah.
Exactly. And now she's back.
Now she's back.
Mhm.
And she let's see. So yeah, the mom watches them, and then after, Leslie and Anthony talk, and Anthony admits that Jackie shot Marty. That's why he has this scar, when
Mhm.
he said that he was going to go to New York.
Mhm.
When he said he was
Mhm.
leaving, she tried to kill him.
Yeah. Oh wait, can I bring up one, I think my favorite point in this whole movie that made me absolutely fall in love with Freddie Prinze Jr. It's before they sleep together. She's trying to get her shoes to, put her shoes on to go downstairs, and because she wants to like get Marty and leave. But obviously it doesn't end that way. But so she goes to like put her on her shoes at one point, and I don't know exactly what happens. I don't know if they kind of struggle, but she breaks a heel of her shoe. And so Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character says something like, "Wait, I have crazy glue. I always keep it in my pocket to fix it." And he pulls out the crazy glue and then he glues the heel back on. And then he goes, "Oh, but it says it takes 24 hours to cure. So, like, you'll have to stay here." And she's like, "No, what are you talking about?" And he's like, "I lied." It's just very cute.
Yes. And we learn he's like a total liar.
He's a total liar. He's just a mess.
Yeah, he makes everything up.
Yeah. But he does have crazy glue in his pocket, which
He does have
is,
I know.
is
Yes.
very charming to me for some reason.
A man who could fix things.
Yes.
What else do you need?
Honestly.
So mom shows up and she helps Leslie get her dress back on because she wants to get her to the cab to get her to the
Mhm.
train. She's going to send her away. They're going to keep
Mhm.
Marty. She's going to leave alone. And Leslie says, "Were you spying on us?" And she says, "A mother doesn't spy. She pays attention," which was another good line.
Yeah.
And she says that Jackie can have whatever she wants. And Leslie says, "Is that how you raised them?" And she said, "People raise cattle. Children just happen."
I do love that line. I want to
That
like
was,
cross stitch that on something.
yes, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the morning, they find Jackie and Marty on the couch together. Leslie's packing to leave. And Anthony wants to go with her. He
Yeah.
wants to leave with Leslie. Um, and he says, "I'll never love another woman. I'll go to the desert and love only sand." And do you know why? Do you know why you never go hungry in the desert? Because of the sandwiches there. It's just like,
That's
oh
my
my
favorite.
God. Predates the Attack of the Clones too,
Yes. Yeah.
sand and
Well, he
love.
loves
Yeah.
sand and Anakin hates it. So
Eggs and
they
yeah,
would
not enough
really
sandwiches for it. They would
clash.
not get along.
No.
So then Marty tells Leslie that Anthony lied about being a virgin. Meanwhile, Jackie's running around the house saying like, "Hotter, hotter, colder, colder." And she's running around looking for something. She goes into the bathroom. And Marty says that Leslie needs to help him. You feel like he wants to get out of this situation. And they have this little fantasy. They talk about what they do on Sundays, which is very cute. They
Yeah.
like, go for a walk and read the paper and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Very New York Sunday. And they decide they're going to leave together. But Jackie's flushed Marty's keys down the toilet.
Yeah. She loves that toilet.
And she loves that toilet. Yeah, she has a habit of flushing things that he wants down the toilet. And Leslie, at this point, has had enough with Jackie. She gets mad at her for wearing the Jackie O costume. She says, "You're making fun of a woman who lost her husband. You're going to need to bury your webbed-footed babies in the backyard." Like,
yeah, she goes in.
Yes, she's done. She's fed up with this. And then we get into the whole thing where Jackie thinks that their mom killed their dad on the day Kennedy was shot, but Marty says he just left.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, so a little ambiguous. I could see the mom maybe killing the dad, but I think it's almost more tragic if the dad just left. And so maybe she's trying to rationalize it in her head.
That's the way I read it when I watched the movie. But one thing I did learn about the play is that the play, the mom did kill the dad and he's buried in the backyard.
Okay, so it's not ambiguous.
Right. Yeah. And that's where Marty's about to end up, buried next to dad in the back. So Jackie wants to do the thing one more time. He starts waving.
Yep.
Of course, she's got a real bullet in the gun. So she shoots him. The screen goes white. And we cut to the real Jackie holding her roses at the White House. And the aspect ratio of the screen kind of gets smaller and smaller until it's a little square. And we hear Leslie screaming, and she goes running out of the house. So we know that Jackie's actually shot him. And then we cut back to the footage of them as kids with Josie.
Yeah.
And Rachel Lee Cook. I said Evan Rachel Wood. No, Rachel Lee Cook.
Yeah.
And we hear Marty saying, "Do you want me to stop?" And she says, "Stop it, Marty, stop." And then the movie's over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything you wanted to add to that kind of messy plot summary?
No, I mean, I think even though it's a little, bouncing back and all of that, I think you did a good job summing it up.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's hard to sum it up without just like reading the script.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But all right, we'll take a short break and we'll come back with our Gothic roundup and we'll decide, is it Gothic? All right, ghosties, we're back with our Gothic roundup. All Gothic films have 4 elements: a girl, a guy, a house, and a haunt. This film has our girl in Leslie.
Yes.
She's a real textbook Gothic girl.
Yeah, she is. She is a Gothic heroine. She's spunky. She's brought into this crazy situation by a man that she loves. And chaos ensues.
Chaos ensues. I like that she's more, they do kind of make fun of her for being kind of a little stupid, even though she's not. She's more, unlike a lot of Gothic heroines that are book smart and not street smart, she seems to be the opposite.
Exactly. That's actually a really good point. Yeah. Yeah.
But also the class difference is big in this one too, which often happens with our Gothic heroines.
That is true. That is true.
And we have our, again, textbook Gothic guy in Marty. If he had just told her these things.
Exactly.
If they would just communicate, none of this would happen.
Well, and also, I don't feel bad for him. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I do think it's very obvious that, he never wanted to introduce Leslie to his family. He wanted to be out. But Leslie so badly wanted to be introduced to his family. She really wanted it. Again, I don't feel bad for Marty because he maybe should have given her a heads up or something. But yeah, it's kind of one of those situations. It kind of reminds me, it's actually very funny. I was laughing pretty hard after this movie, thinking about how Crimson Peak came out after this movie because I saw so many similarities. And because I kind of see that in Marty with, I don't know the lead character's name in Crimson Peak there, Tom Hiddleston's character, where he kind of has this when he's outside of the house, he's this charming guy, he genuinely, I think, loves her, brings her into this fold and then feels bad that it is happening this way. He's not trying to be malicious. So again, just very funny though, how similar these two movies are in a lot of ways.
That's a fair point. Yeah. And they've got the incestuous sister. Who is jealous and obsessed with him. That's very true.
Yeah. This was the precursor to Crimson Peak.
I need to know if Guillermo del Toro saw this movie and was inspired by House of Yes.
And was like, I'm going to make the second best Gothic movie of all time behind House of Yes.
Yes. House of Yes, but with a ghost.
Exactly.
So we do have a very cool house in this movie. I did really like the house. No idea if it's a real house or soundstage. Couldn't find any information online about it.
Yeah, it's a very typical DC style. I don't know if Victorian's the right word, but maybe Reconstruction era house with the big marble columns. And I was also kind of confused because it does take place in Washington, D.C., but they allude a couple of times to them living next to the Kennedys. And I don't know, because there's one point where I think it's Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character goes like missing for a couple minutes, and he says something about how he was helping the Kennedys wrangle their horses or something. And like, I have no idea if the Kennedys, I mean, I would imagine they have some sort of property in Washington, D.C. But it was very, like, it kind of confused me a little bit when they would mention those little bits, is that they lived close to the Kennedys as well. I don't know, but it's just like an interesting, I guess, background information on what was going on. Because, the house is it's almost like a mini White House. It's very cute.
That's true. Yeah. And in the flashbacks or the film footage with Rachel Lee Cook, she's giving a tour of their house similar to Jackie did of the White House.
That's right.
And they are very similar houses. Are we ever clued into like why they're rich?
I don't think so. Yeah, just old money. Yeah.
Are the Kennedys old money? Why are the Kennedys rich? Are they just old money?
I think the Kennedys are pretty old money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just rich people who are rich.
Right. They've just always been rich. Yeah. We don't even need an explanation. They're just rich.
Just rich people.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But there was when I was looking at how more recently people seem to like this movie. The movies, the people who see it enjoy it, and the IMDb reviews, which I don't normally go to, most of the top reviews are very favorable for the movie. And someone did write about the house in a way that I liked, where they said, although the movie takes place in a single location, there is no claustrophobic effect. They said each room of the house reveals a new secret, a new mystery.
Ooh, that is true. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because there's not a ton of rooms, but there's enough that keep the story going forward. It's segmented enough. The kitchen was a really interesting kitchen. It looked like it was almost like, you know how some of those like really old fancy houses have like a kitchen for like the help, and then like a kitchen that doesn't really get used. It looks like they were using the kitchen like for the help. Like it was very small and cramped and like industrial looking.
Elvis's kitchen is like that at Graceland.
Yes, that's right. Another Gothic classic.
Yep, Graceland is another Gothic mansion.
Wow.
I do think they mentioned they had help that quit after Jackie shot Marty, and now the mom is trying to cook Thanksgiving dinner.
Right.
And doesn't seem to be doing a good job. With it.
That's true. Yeah.
But it's also you mentioned there's not a lot of rooms because it's also a very short movie. It's less than an hour and a half. It's like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't overstay its welcome, which is nice. It moves along at a good clip.
Yes.
We don't really have a haunt. I guess you could almost say we're haunted by the Kennedys. Or like, I don't know, that kind of, it's almost like, I don't really understand. It doesn't need, you could take that out of the movie and I feel like you could still have the movie.
Right. Like, I like that it's in there because I think it just, especially now, like we're so far removed from the Kennedy assassination that like we can kind of be a little bit more, I hate to say it, lighthearted about it.
Yeah.
So I like that it just kind of adds this level of ridiculousness. But you're right, like it doesn't, they could just be spoiled, snotty kids. Jackie could just be a spoiled girl. They could find some other game for them to play, not Kennedy sitting in the back of the, what is it? Was it a Corvette or something?
I forget what the car was.
The little blue. Yeah. So, but I like that they have it.
I'd always rather have flavor than no flavor, for sure.
Exactly.
But yeah, it is an interesting choice.
Yeah. But yeah, there isn't really like an explicit haunt. You could do that like annoying thing that we do sometimes where we're like, wealth is the ghost, like society, like,
yeah, we live in a society. Yeah,
we live in a society. You could go that route, but there isn't really one.
This one's lacking. But it makes up for it with all of the bonus Gothics.
Yeah,
we've got great Panano,
super Panano.
It really gives Panano. I was wondering if Storm should be one of our Gothic bonuses.
Yeah. I could be swayed. Yeah,
Hmm.
storm, bad weather. Mm,
Bad weather, the power outage,
yeah.
candles.
Candles, classic gothic. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. And then I was also wondering if holidays should be gothic.
Oh, I like
I
that
We've
because
had a few that are Christmas. There's a lot of
yeah.
Christmas, I feel like, but we've had a few that are around the holidays.
Yes. And that to me does feel like a good gothic bonus because it's usually a time when families gather, and that's usually a catalyst for some gothic shenanigans.
Hmm. And you
I
feel
like that.
obligated to be there. It adds to this
Yes.
sense of claustrophobia because that's
Right.
the reason why they can't just leave. Leslie's
Right.
like, but it's Thanksgiving. Like, we can't go just
Yeah.
stay at a hotel. We need to stay with your family.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Throw that on the
Awesome.
list.
Got a new bonus from this movie. And
Holidays.
then incest with a capital I.
Oh
Like, this
boy.
movie brings it.
Yes, it does.
Yes, sister, friend, not even friend, just sister,
Yeah.
lover. Skip the friend.
Yes. Just one
Yes.
or the other. Like,
Yes.
yeah. It's also like we didn't really talk about it, and I won't go into it too much, but it's also a really interesting dynamic that the mother, I think, clearly knows what's happening, but is in such deep denial about it. Like, she never fully admits to it, but she alludes, like, because she's having one of the conversations with Leslie, and Leslie says something like straight out, like, how fucked up it is that your kids are sleeping together. And she says something like, siblings are just close, or I don't know, something
Right.
weird like that. So it's like a very interesting dynamic. And obviously she wants Marty to stay because she knows that the two of them have at least some kind of relationship.
Right.
So it's a very bizarre dynamic. So it's like incest with this mother who's like promoting incest. And then this
Well, it's
poor
also
other brother who's like, he's
when he
also
had
kind of
dropped out
in
of
love.
college. Yeah, he had
Yeah,
dropped out of college to go back home. So the
right.
mother is keeping them all in the house. That
Yeah.
wine is called mother's milk that they're all
Mm,
drinking.
right, right.
So, yeah.
And it kind of seems like Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character is kind of in love with Jackie too. He At the beginning they have this very like flirtatious banter. He says something about
Mm.
because he dropped out of college to take care of her. Like,
Mhm.
it's very, he seems like, because he doesn't, I don't think technically know that they have actually slept together until the events of this movie. I think they kind of break
Right.
it to him, and he
Right.
seems very upset about it. He seems kind of jealous. So just a lot
Yeah.
of incest.
That's true, and he makes the point that they might not even have the same dad. So they're not even
Right.
like they're
They're not
just
even,
half brother and sister. It's just
right.
half
That's not nearly
incest.
as weird. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The logic.
Well, do you wanna add anything else to our gothic elements?
I don't think so.
I think we've done it. So what do you think? Is this gothic?
I would say so. This is one of the most gothic.
It's so I know, especially when you made the comparison to Crimson Peak, I was just like, "Oh my god."
Right? It's like, I think it's one of those things that I wouldn't have thought about if, again, like I've said it before, I love doing this podcast with you because it makes me watch movies I would never watch, otherwise. And it also makes me watch those movies with this lens of like this like gothic dramatic background and trying to find those little pieces. And this was like not my favorite movie we've ever watched for this, but one of my favorites to watch to find those little aspects.
That's one of my main reasons I like doing the podcast too, is to watch
Yeah,
movies that you wouldn't normally think as gothic
right.
and opens them up. And I want to know because this again movie is so gothic. Like,
Yes,
did the playwright have this in mind when she was
right.
writing it? Like, I need to really to go and try to find an interview or
Oh,
something. I did some
yes.
digging. I could not find a lot about this because it was not very. The movie was not popular.
Yeah,
The play was not popular. Like, it's a miracle this was ever made
right. It's,
ever.
yeah,
So there's
it's
not a lot of
actually
scholarship.
right. It's so funny that it also like we are watching it so far into, I mean, it's been over a year now that we've been doing the podcast. This feels like a movie where someone thought of the 4 like gothics that how we think of movies and like was
And
like
did them.
and like, how fucked up can I make this though? Like, how weird can I take this? And they did. So very gothic. Maybe not as gothic as Elvis. I don't know. I'll have to go back and watch Elvis and then watch this.
Maybe for our 2-year anniversary, we'll do like a gothic ranking. We can rank them.
Ooh, that would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
This would be up there.
This would definitely be up there. Yeah. Highly, highly gothic. And like you said, not in any of the reviews. None of the reviews say it's gothic. So I love that we're able to find that and draw that element out.
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you, Amanda, for drawing out that gothic element, and to the Ghosties for listening to us break down the gothic elements in House of Yes. Please subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can subscribe to us on Spotify. We're starting to put little questions, little polls on the Spotify podcast. So please participate and drop us an email if you'd like at sogothicpod@gmail.com. We'll never respond, but we will look at it and love it. We do love it. So until next time, Ghosties, stay ghosty. Boo-bye.
Bye.